This episode is brought to you by the Homebrew Beer Academy. It's located in Pickering, Ontario, and it's your one-stop shop for all things homebrewing. What's up, everybody? It's Nick Taylor with the Crafty Gents, and we're back with episode 2 of our homebrewing series. This week, we're brewing up an American Pale Ale, and we're calling it Next Stop Hollywood because we're headed to Hollywood. Yes! Not really, but hopefully soon in the future. So this beer, we're gonna run through all the ingredients. We're fortunate enough to have the Homebrew Beer Academy supply us with our ingredients for this batch. If you've never been, they're located in Pickering, Ontario. So head in there, tell them that you know the Crafty Gents, tell them that you saw this episode, and Dean will hook you up with all your homebrewing needs. Their ingredients come in this nice little package right here, this little bag that Dean put together for us, and we're gonna run through all the ingredients here. So we're gonna tell you what you got for this batch. So the first thing is the grain bill. We have 2-row pale malt. That's gonna be our base malt for this batch. We got 8.5 pounds or 3.9 kilos of this ingredient here. To support that, we're also gonna add some flaked oats. We're gonna add 1 pound or 450 grams of flaked oats. I'm gonna get into the details on this later, but this is what our grain bill is gonna be. So pretty simple here. Then we're gonna go to our hop addition. We're gonna add hops throughout the whole boil this time. So we have our bittering hop, well, kind of versatile, a little bit of bittering, a little bit of flavor from our Cascade hops here. Cascade's a great hop. I'll get into details of that in a bit. And then we're gonna use for flavor and aroma hop is gonna be Hallertau Blanc. And so this hop is actually great. A lot of good character on this. I can get into more detail on this later, but these two together, I think they're gonna work well together. Finally, we're gonna add our yeast, which is the flagship ale yeast from Imperial. And this is just known for its extremely clean character. It should work well for this style. So all these ingredients we got from the Homebrew Beer Academy. We're super excited about it. I'm gonna go into more details on all these later, but that's the outline of what we're gonna use to make this beer. First thing we gotta do is fill up our equipment with 5 US gallons or 19 liters of water, and we're gonna heat it to 152 degrees Fahrenheit or 67 degrees Celsius. And once we get there, then we can start adding our grain. So we're gonna mash for 60 minutes at 152 degrees Fahrenheit or 67 degrees Celsius. We're gonna add all our ingredients at the beginning, and then we're gonna stir intermittently, help extract all those sugars from those grains. And this base malt is not as light as Pilsner, but it's right up there. It's gonna give it hopefully like a bright straw, maybe like a little bit of gold. Or it's gonna be a little bit of gold color in this final beer, hopefully, with this grain bill. Okay, now I'm gonna add the flaked oats here, and this is 1 pound, 450 grams. I have the pale malt, the 2-row in here already. I've got it soaking. Just gonna add the flaked oats on top. And the flaked oats, it's gonna add some body, some mouthfeel, and then a bit of that like protein haze, you know? So it adds a little something to the flavor of the beer, to the body of the beer. And I really enjoy that. That's why I wanted to add it to this beer. So I guess it would be like an oat pale ale by definition. So now we're recirculating. We got all of our grain bill in here. Bit of a thick mash here. I'm just gonna give it a stir. And then we're gonna put the lid on this thing. And I like to stir it intermittently throughout the mash also. So we're gonna be doing that as well. So while our mash is going, we gotta get our sparge water ready. I'm gonna fill up about 5 gallons of this pot here, and we're gonna heat it up to 168 degrees Celsius. So now we have our sparge water heating up on the stove, we have our mash going, everything's good, so we gotta wait until the end of the mash. Only thing left to do right now is have a couple drinks to kill some time. Okay, so now our mash is complete. We've mashed it 60 minutes at 152 degrees Fahrenheit. We got our sparge water here at 168 degrees Fahrenheit or 76 degrees Celsius. And now we're gonna pull our mash tun out of our equipment, and we're gonna let that water drain out of that mash, and then we're gonna top it up to 6.5 gallons with our sparge water. Okay, so now that our sparge is complete, we're at 6.5 gallons of our wort. I have this filter here that I use, and I know it's very homebrew-esque, but it works for me. So I'm just gonna put this on here, and I like to recirculate also. So in addition to filtering, I wanna recirculate this solution. That's gonna help give us a representative sample for our original gravity reading. We want to have the most representative sample that we can. The original gravity is gonna help determine the alcohol by volume. So basically what we're gonna do, filter, recirculate, grab a sample, then heat it up to a boil, and we'll get our boil going, and we're at our hops. Okay, so we completed our mash, we completed sparging. We're at 6.5 gallons of our wort. You can probably hear that we're heating up the water right now to a boil while we filter and recirculate the solution. Once we get to a boil, which should be very soon, we're gonna start adding our hops. So our hop schedule or our hop additions are gonna go as follows. As soon as we get to a boil, we're gonna add 0.5 ounces or 14 grams of Cascade hops. These are gonna be our bittering hops. They're gonna add some bitterness to the beer. Halfway through, at 30 minutes, we're gonna add another 0.5 ounces of Cascade. At this point, they're gonna use them for bittering as well, but there's gonna be a little flavor in there too. Cascade has, strong spicy notes, and then also some floral and like grapefruit character as well. So we're gonna try to highlight that with these additions. With 20 minutes left, we're gonna add 1 ounce or 28 grams of Cascade hops as well. So at 10 minutes left, we're gonna add our heat exchanger, which I'm gonna show you in a minute, but we're also gonna add 1 ounce or 28 grams of the Hallertau Blanc hops. These hops are a little bit different from Cascade in that they're a little bit floral. They have like some floral aromas, but they also have this fruity character of like passion fruit, pineapple, even lemongrass as well. So we're gonna try to highlight that with these additions. So we're gonna add 1 ounce with 10 minutes left, and then we're gonna add 2 ounces as soon as we turn the flame off at 0 minutes. And then we're gonna let that whirlpool for about 20 minutes. Okay, so now our boil is complete. We're gonna turn off the heat here, and we're gonna turn on this recirculation pump to get that whirlpool going. And we're also gonna connect our hose, which is gonna be our cooling water after the 20-minute whirlpool. Additionally, this is a really good time to start sanitizing equipment that we're gonna use for our fermentation process. So I've done that as well. So now the whirlpool process is complete. It's been 20 minutes, so I'm gonna turn on this cold water, and we're gonna let that water circulate through, and we're gonna cool it down to about 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so now we've cooled down our beer to about 72 degrees Fahrenheit, and now we wanna grab a post-boil gravity, just to compare that to the pre-boil, see where we're at. So I'm gonna take this off here. Just gonna grab a quick sample. Still got the recirculation on, because I want to make sure it's a composite sample. So I got it here, all good. I'm gonna get this a little sanitized. We turned off the water, by the way, so we're not cooling anymore. But now I'm gonna drain this into the fermenter, and that's gonna be that. Okay, so now we're finally ready to pitch our yeast. This is one of the final parts in the brewing process. The thing that's key to this is making sure this is fully sanitized. This is our sanitation bucket. So we want to make sure that this was dunked in there and clean as ever before we try to transfer it into here. Any bacteria at this point is a big no-no. So this yeast here is from Imperial. It's their flagship ale yeast. It's A07. It works really well for the beer style that we're trying to do, which is a typical ale. You can also use it in the low 60 degrees for a little bit of a crisper finish, but we're not gonna do that. We're just using it for 60 to 72, probably about 70-ish, maybe 68, 69. This one's cool because you can store it cold and open it cold. All good, so I'm gonna cut it off here. I'm ready to go, here we go. All good, all good. And I'm really messy about this sometimes, but I got it all in. And here we go. So then we got the lid here, which is also being sanitized. I don't have to worry about any of this star sand because it doesn't really have any, effects on the flavor here. And so with that, we are good. Now we're gonna store this in a cool 60 to 72, around 66, 67 is where we're gonna go. Maybe 68, 69. I'm gonna wrap it up in a towel to keep it away from the light. And then we're gonna store it for about 2.5 weeks to make sure that the fermentation is complete. And there's no dry hopping, so don't have to worry about anything like that. So now we just wait on it until it's done. What we did last time I saw you was we added yeast to the fermenter, and we were gonna let that thing ferment for about 14 days, single stage fermentation, 19 to 22 degrees C. And so we did that. The final gravity became 1.010, which gave us a percentage of 5.25%. So pretty average in terms of what you would expect for American Pale. Typically, what you would see with this beer is that it's going to be a little more balanced than like your IPA, or comparatively to our last brewing session with the New England IPA, it's going to be much more balanced than that. So let's get into it and see how it tastes. Yeah, so a little more of a malt present or grain presence, which is expected with this style of beer. Last time we saw the hop character shine in a big way on the back end of this beer. So it was like bursting with flavors and aromas, and this is too, but in a different way. This here, I get a little bit more of like a bready, almost like biscuity aromas as opposed to just hop character. And then supporting that is these floral, fragrant aromas that come from the Cascade and Hallertau Blanc that we also had in there. Additionally, I feel like there's a little bit of spiciness too, and that comes from the hops as well, which I really like. But overall, it seems like just a very balanced offering, one that you could drink. You could probably crush a few of these in the sun in the summer. And I really enjoy it. I've been enjoying it now for a few days. And I have a whole keg now, which I usually would share with all my friends, but I don't think I can do that. So I guess I'm just gonna have to drink it all to myself. Everyone else watching, we hope to be back with you soon and share more delicious brewing recipes. But until then, stay golden and cheers. Take care.